Hey guys, how you doing? Um, Day 7 million of this nonsense coronavirus that people are taking less and less seriously. Um, I actually think that the basic income at this stage in the game is going to be a complete inevitability. The more I think about it, the more I dwell on it. Um, and that it's going to be an inevitability because of the second wave. Even the most conservative of people and the denialists and even the death cultists are now saying like, oh yeah, uh, a second wave is inevitable, right? That all you have to do is look at the structural history or the history of the influenza flu. Oh, sorry, somebody's like firing up a motorcycle right outside my window. That's fun. Sorry if that bothers you. Uh, all you have to do is take a look at the history of how the Spanish flu happened in North America to see very cleanly there is definitely going to be a second wave. And because we're not taking the pandemic seriously any longer, because we're giving way to the open the economy crowd, uh, who are amongst the most privileged people in our society, who are completely clueless, the Karens of the world, right? The people who really do want to go talk to the pandemic's manager. Uh, we're going to get completely blindsided by this second wave, even though we know it's coming. That's what's incredibly absurd is that we know it's coming. You just need to take a look at the data for how any pandemic in the history of mankind has worked. And so we know that this second wave is coming. And what's insane to me is that the capitalist class is so short-sighted and so unable to even begin to comprehend any system outside of itself that it is willing to destroy itself in order to gain a couple of months of extra potential economic activity. Because what's going to happen, given the timing of what we're seeing, is people are going to go outside and they're going to gather in groups because the weather is getting nicer and that's how people are. Um, all of these denialists or the open the economy crowd, like they didn't care in the first place, so they're only going to ramp things up and spread this virus around because they don't value human life. They care about their precious economy that's almost completely irrelevant. Um, the uh, and so there's going to be a spike up, and the spike up, the second wave is typically worse than the first wave. That's how it goes. And what's insane is that the second wave, the timing of it is probably going to happen just in time for Christmas. Now, capitalism as a structure, like, requires Christmas. Christmas is an important time of the year for capitalism, right? It's when everyone decides to spend any extra capital they have and give it to the capitalist class in order to give each other baubles and doodads and widgets and all kinds of, trivial things. Christmas is actually like an extremely odd moment because what it really is it's the admission that like what we're attempting to do is we're attempting to replace the time we're apart from one another, subserviating ourselves into wage slavery under capitalism, and we're trying to replace that with baubles and toys and gadgets and doodads. So you don't see your friends and family for months at a time because you're wasting your life in a wage slave society. Uh, but you got them like the newest iPhone, so everything's good, right? Um, or you got a new necklace or a piece of jewelry or some material gizmo that shows how much you care. And capitalism requires that. That's crucial to their bottom line. That's crucial to the system. That if Christmas were to suddenly be canceled, that would be the death knell of capitalism, that capitalism would not recover, because capitalism requires that sort of mass extraction of wealth in order to proliferate itself. And it requires the kind of excess of time and the excess of labor that they can exploit for themselves. And if we and because they're pounding so hard on the reopen the economy now, the second wave will probably be timed just in time for Christmas. And as the cases start to ramp up and as things start to get more and more serious, our leadership is going to be forced into a position where they're going to have to go into lockdown again. And the second lockdown is going to be much more severe and much more serious than the first one was. And the only response that they will have left, they will find themselves in a position where they will have to pass a basic income. Because at that stage, it's actually going to be cheaper to do than to continuously press on with this patchwork of half measures that they're committing to so that they can maintain the facade that the capitalists should remain in control or have power in the society at all. We're really in a position where, like, the earth is giving us a timeout. I've said this before, it's worth saying again. The earth is giving us a timeout. It's done the smallest possible thing against us to tell us that what we're doing is harmful. And we are arrogantly saying that we're in control of the situation and that we can take ourselves off timeout, thank you very much. And the earth is just going to smack us back down. It's just going to put us right back in the corner, and it's just going to say, no, 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 children, you're in a timeout. Go back to your corner, or else things will get more serious. And they will. I can't restate it often enough. This pandemic is the smallest thing that the earth will throw at us. And if we ignore it, as it seems like we are, it will only ramp up and it will only get more serious. I think that these people who are these reopen the economy people might be some of the most dangerous people that the world has ever seen. They have no respect for their environment. They have no respect for human life. What they respect is the small shred of power that a transactional society has granted them. That these people who all they've ever known and understand is the transactional society. They don't participate in society in any other meaningful way, right? They're not actually attempting to build community or culture or even religious institutions. They might claim to be religious, but they don't go to church, right? They don't actually participate in that in a meaningful way. The only way that they actually interact with their society is through transactions, right? They walk into an establishment that's being run by wage slaves. They find a thing that they want from those people, and they, through transaction, acquire it. And they've fooled themselves into believing that any narrative or dialogue or relationship that they've built with the people who are working there, with the wage slaves, is in any way genuine. Because as anyone who's actually worked in retail or has worked in shops understands, like, the first thing you have to do to provide excellent customer service is be a good actor. You have to actually be a very, you have to pretend as though you care about what these people are interested in. You have to pretend as though what they want is what you want. And so people fool themselves into believing that we're on this equal footing. But when you actually pull back the curtain and you see the nuts and bolts of what the relationship is, it's strictly transactional. That if food and shelter was not withheld, people would likely not be there to tolerate the Karens of the world. And when Karen said, I want to talk to your manager, people would just say, go fuck yourself. Like, go away. We don't want you here, right? You're treating us like we're slaves. And you're only here because you want something from us. And the relationship we have is only transactional to you, which ultimately is what they want. They want to return to the transactional society because it makes them feel like they have power, which is all they care about. They don't love the society. Like I have a theory of how things operate. And it's not my theory. Like, my background is theater. And when you're in theater, you're often talking about motivation all the time, right? Well, what motivates this character? What motivates what he's doing? What's his objective? And there's really only 3 motivations that humans have, right? Humans are not actually that complex. They only have 3 motivations. The first is love. The second is vengeance. And then the third is power. And money is power, right? Knowledge is power. That's the first thing people always say to me. Well, what about money? What about knowledge? Well, those things are power, right? Knowledge is power. Money is power. And clearly the people who are telling us all to get back to work in the middle of a pandemic so they can get their hair cut aren't interested in love, unless you count like kind of a self-masturbatory kind of love, which I don't, right? That's just another form of power, right? To have power over other people. And so they seek, and their motivation isn't vengeance, right? Like, that's my motivation. My motivation is vengeance. Well, and love for my society and love for the people who are around me. But certainly I seek vengeance against these sociopathic death cultists, right? Telling people to go back to work in the middle of a pandemic should not be forgotten. And there should be a reckoning for it, without a doubt. Like, the death cultists, i.e. the conservatives, should be expunged from our society completely, unabashedly, and we should mock and ridicule them every step of the way. Because they're sociopaths and death cultists. They're very dangerous people who have revealed that they don't care about human life. And it's just going to become obvious as the second wave smacks us in the face, right? As this crisis gets even 5 times worse, right? Even 5 times worse. In the States, it's going to be like 10 to 15 times worse than it is currently, right? We're talking about millions of people, by the way. Like, let's be really clear about the death toll at the end of this, right? Right now, they're talking about like, oh yeah, we're on the trajectory for 100,000 people. At the end of this, we're going to be talking about millions of people who will have needlessly died because of the incompetence and stupidity and honestly malicious sociopathic behavior of these people who are reveling in the suffering of others. And when the second wave hits, unless our leadership is actually part of the death cult, which is up in the air, right? I'm not convinced that this Trudeau government isn't just going to turn around and sell us back to the death cult. But when the second wave hits, they're not going to have another option. Unemployment's going to spike. People are going to flee. There's going to be an outcry from the society because people are not going to have the money they need for food and shelter, right? We avoided that on a temporary basis with the CERB program, but we've kept people at work. So we're just inviting it. We need to respect the earth, right? We need to respect what's happening around us. And we don't. We don't respect the earth at all. Like, at all. And it's exerting its authority. And it's going to exert its authority. In theological terms, God is putting us in our place. And we can be wiped out. We can be wiped out easily. This pandemic is a shot across the bow. And I've been reading my Bible recently, and one thing is very clear. When you get a shot across the bow, that's the universe, or God if you prefer, giving you the opportunity to repent. And one thing's very clear, that if you do repent, then all will be forgiven. And this is kind of my point, is that we need to repent. We need to repent. We need to humble ourselves. We need to humble ourselves before these enormous forces, or they will obliterate us. Like, history has shown this over and over and over again, that if you disrespect the forces of nature, it will obliterate you. And that's exactly what we're doing. That's exactly the trajectory we're on. And we have to take it seriously. We have to humble ourselves. And more importantly, we have to repent. Good luck out there, guys. Like, share, subscribe, all that classic stuff. Hug someone. I hugged someone today and it was the nicest thing ever. Improved my mood like you wouldn't imagine. Love people. Love the earth. Respect the planet. Do your best.